So I call this the 70s group. We thought we'd have a little reunion together. When COVID happened, we were planning with Praharna, who couldn't make it here today, to do something for the anniversary of when our deities were installed, Shishirada Kirchho Gopinath. But COVID struck, and so that wasn't a reality. And so we thought, oh, well, let's try to shoot for 2026, somewhere in there, because that's when we brought the deities to Avenue Road. And they are still the best dressed, best looking couple. They never age. I asked all the devotees here, God siblings, that is God brothers and God sisters, Go Bros, to say something and about their time with Prabhupada or with his mission, what kind of services they did to start the ball rolling for Krishna consciousness in this part of the world, particularly in Toronto. I wrote a poem. I just want to read this first, and then I'll pass the mic over to others. Nityananda, are you here? Can you just in case, you can help out. Okay, here we are. Thank you very much. Is everyone okay? If you can find a little space, you might squeeze it in somehow or other. Make room for some others, who don't have to stand there so long. Hare Krishna. Okay, here's my poem. I put it together 2 days ago, and here it is. First of all, I start with myself. I was molded by the group on the street Gerard. In those early days, we worked together very hard for the mission of our dear Srila Prabhupada, our guru and magnanimous representative of God. We had given up the opportunities for a college degree, instead laid a foundation for a spiritualized humanity. It meant very long hours in the heat and the snow, out to the public to give what few did know. I recall how we didn't fight or squabble, although at times there was challenge and trouble. In our neighborhood in shady Cabbage Town, drunkards and druggies would stumble around. One of our girls got kidnapped one day, bonding us more, compelling us to pray. There was the ghost that came out of the attic, but our kirtans continued to remain ecstatic. The Sunday love feasts were most revolutionary. A 10-course meal, yummy and extraordinary. You could swear that we were deep in heaven, though the building was old at 187. There were easily 40 of us all crammed in, no space to roll over on the floor when tucked in. We had 1 minute to take our shower, a kind of boot camp. We gained personal power. In 75, we received a visit from His Divine Grace when we viewed a church in a very nice place. At address 243 on Avenue Road, for us, it would be the ultimate spiritual abode. He approved the purchase, all went for the move. It was felt on all counts, things would improve. They did, for the most part, in this special location. All got married while I kept to my single vocation. Thank you very much. And there's also the days, my friends, that we want to hear a little bit more about those nostalgic days. And so we're asking, I guess we'll start with the grace you at the end, the divine end. and then we'll kind of go this way. So I thought it might be an idea for everyone to just tell your name and maybe the year or the month you joined. That's okay. And just a little something about your special connection to Prabhupada, what you did for the Hare Krishna movement in particularly this part of the world. Thank you. Hare Krishna. The start would be great. And we'll give a garland. I guess there's a garland. And before we start, I'd just like to thank the Brampton, ISKCON Brampton community for being so vibrant and making sure that this was all happening. Of course, we have participants here, of course, from ISKCON Toronto and far out places like Scarborough and Bolton, Ontario, from all over the place. Okay, thank you very much. Good Grace will just pass the baton to you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. My name is Ugresh Das. Srila Prabhupada gave me that name, and I joined in Toronto. I'm from London, England, and I was known as Dr. Harold back in the day. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. My name is Ugresh Das, and I joined in Toronto in 1975. My godbrother, Bhaktimarga, Maharaj, was my Sankirtan partner for a while. Taught me how to cook, taught me how to be austere, taught me many things. We were in a temple room pretty much like this in Gerard Street, crammed together. I remember when we had kirtans, the walls would start sweating. And just like we saw some people jumping up and down, that was us when we were younger. And I don't know how I came to Krishna consciousness, to be truthful. There is a Sanskrit saying, Agyata Sukriti, which means unknown pious credits. So somewhere back there, I must have done something nice, and Krishna must have looked down at me and said, I want that one. So somehow or other, I walked into the temple at Gerard Street and never looked back. My service was Sankirtan, and even though I'm not really an outward person, I learned how to be outward for Krishna. And we used to go into Young Street and stop people. All they had to do was smile at us, and we'd stop them. And we'd give them a book. They would give a donation, and in that way start their spiritual path. I remember one time being out on Sankirtan with Bhaktimarga Maharaj, and we had a full day of Sankirtan, and I was tired. And we had a choice of sleeping in the van, or finding a motel, or whatever. But we found a KOA camp, and we pulled in, and that was our place for the night. So we were very austere, and Bhaktimarga was probably leading the way in that austerity, and we did very well in Krishna's service. I met Srila Prabhupada in 1975, I believe, in Chicago. And at that time, I read the Bhagavad Gita. I had tried to live a saintly path, and I knew that Srila Prabhupada was the person that I should connect with. So I saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time in Chicago, and felt this is the person that we should follow. So many times after that, we used to go wherever Srila Prabhupada was and try to get a little bit of his mercy. That's it.
joined the Srila Prabhupada Sankirtan mission in 1972. We would always try to remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. We'd go out and meet people and try to engage them in Krishna's service. We would, introduce them to Srila Prabhupada's books. If they were not interested, we would just try to ask them for a donation so they could give something for the mission of Krishna consciousness, to serve Krishna in some way, to get some Vyasa Sukriti, even if they opened the door for Krishna or Krishna's devotees. That Prabhupada said that was the beginning, or that was an Vyasa Sukriti for them. So we would go out and meet people in Toronto daily, and for months at a time we would travel around in Ontario, United States, from Detroit to New Orleans to anywhere and everywhere, and try to engage people in Krishna's service. But the whole time we were engaging others in Krishna's service, we would always do our best to remember Krishna. We would talk about Krishna. We would discuss Krishna's pastimes. And then when we were in Toronto, we would study the deities in the morning. The Gopinath had 3 strands of pearls. They were blue and red and this and that. And he had tulsi leaves and he had peacock feather. Today the flute was short. And the other day was, long. We would try to get the impression of Krishna in our minds. And we would talk about Krishna in the vans, while we were out on our way even to meet the people that we were about to try to engage in Krishna's service. And I always remember that Srila Prabhupada would say that I'm always thinking about those boys. And girls, yes, that are traveling around the vans distributing my books. He said, I carry the dust of their lotus feet on my head. So we would try to please Krishna, and we would try by pleasing our spiritual master. He said, if you want to please me, distribute my books. So that's what we did. And Prabhupada would always encourage us to whatever, we thought we had done very well. Prabhupada said, now do more. Increase. He said that impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary. Said whatever, because sorry. Because Krishna was there, and we were thinking of him, that he would give us, I remember always, not always, but I remember asking Krishna, please make my words suitable for their hearing, so that people, just like he did it, just like Prabhupada said in the Markandeya Bhagavad on the pure Vyasa. It says, you should make the dance for your pleasure. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna. My name is Srila. I joined the temple on my 20th birthday, 1974. I had been desperately looking for for the truth. And every time I walked into a New Age bookstore, I was completely overwhelmed by the plethora of different philosophies that faced me. And Bhaktimarga Maharaj sold me my first Bhagavad Gita. He was a fixture on Yonge Street. And we would go down and we would see him there, and he was always so blissful. And once I read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I knew that I had found what I was looking for. So it took some time, but we moved into the temple, and I started out by working at the Spiritual Sky Incense Factory, because I moved in with my wife, my then wife Kirchhoff, and we had an apartment to uphold. But after a while, I approached then our temple president, Sloka, and asked him if I couldn't maybe be a Sankirtan devotee, because when I thought of devotees of Krishna, I thought of the people out on the street distributing incense and books and doing. I wanted to do what Maharaj was doing. So Sloka was only too happy to engage me in that service, and after a very short time of distributing on the streets of Toronto, I was sent out on traveling party. And Giri Jadava was my Sankirtan leader. And he ran a very tight ship. And our cook was Bhaktimarga Swami. And we also had with us Nakadi, who unfortunately is not with us any longer. But we started traveling around Ontario. We went to Sudbury, and we went to actually Bhaktimarga's hometown, met someone who knew him very well. And then we went down and we went into the New England states, and that tight ship just kept on sailing. And Bhaktimarga would cook for us in the morning. Giri Jadava would teach us how to memorize slokas. We would have classes in the morning and in the evening, and would run a very tight, because we were keeping our consciousness high. And then we would come back to New Muna, to Toronto Temple, and we would rejoice in the association of the devotees there. Toronto Temple was a very unique place, in that little Gerrard Street house. The devotees were all like family. Everyone loved each other and cooperated with each other. There was really no discord there at all. It was a wonderful, wonderful place to be. We knew that we were experiencing something very special when we were there. So then when it was decided that we should aim a little higher as far as a place for their worship, Sri Sri Radha Kirchhoff Gopinath, to be, then we heard that the Avenue Road Church was the target, and we used to go out and think, today I am collecting money for Radha Gopinath's marble for their altar. And that was our meditation for a long time. And Toronto Temple was, in the international sphere, we were vying with New York and Los Angeles temples for the most books distributed in the world. It was quite a phenomenon, because we were a very small temple in comparison to these. Los Angeles was the world headquarters of ISKCON, and New York was a huge temple with lots of devotees from all over. But Toronto held its own all the way throughout those times. So I don't want to go on too long, but I really want to say that I am humbled by the atmosphere here today. I am amazed at all of you. You know the prayers. You are obviously practicing so nicely, and it is a credit to yourselves and also to Maharaj for keeping this going here. It is very humbling to be here amongst all of you, and I thank you very much for including us here.
My name is Shashwata Das. I joined in 1974, summer of 1974, with my god brother here, Trilokanath. And for us, at that time, it was, we were young Caucasian boys. Suddenly now we were finding ourselves out on Yonge Street, which at that time they would close off as a open walkway, closed all for cars. And we would be there now in our bed sheets and running shoes, and new dress and everything, and a shaved head, and with the mission to somehow or other tell people about Krishna. And we were very, very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada had reached down and somehow or other said, come along, you know, this is what I would like you to do for me. So those were really wonderful days. Bhaktimarga Swami was like an older brother in those days. He was sort of showing us how we should behave and the protocols for, you know, living as a devotee in the temples. After that, I ended up going to Ottawa to begin the Ottawa Yatra there in Ottawa with my godbrother Krishnadas here. And so we started a small temple there. I was fortunate enough to be able to chauffeur Radha Gopinath from the Gerrard Street Temple to the new church, which was a really highlight of my life. And in 1975, I went to India and took Diksha initiation from Srila Prabhupada at the Abhishek ceremony for the installation of Krishna Balaram deities in Vrindavan. So I was very, very fortunate. And I can just share just one story, because it was very difficult for any of us in those days to get close to Srila Prabhupada. But even in a room with 1,000 devotees in Mayapur in 1975, you could feel that you were with him and he was aware of your presence there. And I remember he gave a class one morning, and it was so quiet in the room. He was giving this wonderful class, and he ended it with, and you young boys and girls, you are so fortunate. You have the whole rest of your lives to serve Lord Chaitanya. And me, I am just an old man. And something inside of me snapped. I just couldn't conceive of how the humility of the pure devotee is just beyond imagination. And it was at that point where my heart was just sold out. So that was a very special moment for me, and where I felt perhaps my strongest connection with Srila Prabhupada. And he's been by my side in my heart ever since.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I joined ISKCON on April the 9th, 1974 in Ottawa. And for a few years was serving there. And Purnamasi actually ended up getting traded to Toronto to marry me. Oh, did I say it the wrong way? I was in Ottawa, and she got traded to Ottawa. Yeah. And thank you. She's always helping me out. And so we were serving together there. Glorification and the Ottawa Temple is thriving, just as this one is very definitely thriving from looking around. And I was able to, Purnamasi and I got traded back to Toronto in 1979. And almost immediately, I got sent out on traveling Sankirtan with Bhaktimarga Swami. And we traveled and slept in the van many times, and it was becoming late fall. And I can remember sometimes sleeping in the back of this big cube van, and it was freezing cold at night. And it was starting to get down to, below zero almost. And we had our sleeping bags, but then we had all these boxes that we had in the van from what we were distributing, and we just would sleep under like 3 or 4 boxes. And I can remember one time, a little later on, we did actually get a motel eventually. And one time we were sleeping in a motel, and I can remember being totally asleep in the middle of the night, and I was sleeping on one side of the bed on the floor. We never slept on the beds, and then we rented a motel room. We always just slept on the floor. And Bhaktimarga Swami was sleeping on the other side of the bed, on the other side of the room, on the floor. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I was totally asleep. All of a sudden I hear, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and I look over, and Bhaktimarga Swami is sitting up, and he's bolt upright, chanting the holy name, and then just gradually he kept chanting, and he just lay back down. And I was just amazed. I was just like, wow. I wish I was that Krishna conscious. And so Bhaktimarga Swami has been, leading the whole zone of Canada, and particularly ISKCON Toronto, and then now the whole surrounding area. I think we have how many